Honey has been used across the world, civilizations and different cultures, and it continues to be used today, especially in villages and also urban cities. But what's the quality of honey that we're looking at? If we all step back a couple of years ago when we were children and we had coughs and colds, we were given a little bit of honey to soothe the cough and it would work. We were given a little bit of honey to soothe a sore throat and it would hurt. Sometimes our parents or our grandparents would cut a little bit of ginger and mix it with honey and give it to us when we had a cough or a fever or a cold, and it would work. And how come that doesn't work today? How come the honey that we get, that even doctors and diabetologists say that patients cannot use honey because it raises their blood sugar levels, and they're right for every reason. But in the olden days, people who had high sugar levels were actually given honey to treat diabetes and lower their blood sugar levels. There's obviously a difference in quality. There's obviously a difference in the way that honey is being processed today. And we need to be aware of whether we're using the right honey or the wrong honey. In today's video, we're going to understand how to test for the right quality honey and what the difference is between real honey and even so-called organic brands. Just because you see a bottle of honey that has the word organic honey written on, it may be organic, but it doesn't mean it's healthy. It may be organic, but it doesn't mean it's doing the job that honey is meant to do. In the olden days, honey was used to treat wounds, open wounds post-surgery. It was used for small children who had low immunity, strep cough, normal coughs, fever, colds. It was used for diabetes. It was used for immunity. And in civilizations across the world till date, pure, real honey is used to even treat cancer and tumors, especially across New Zealand, Egypt, and parts of Europe. So what does honey contain that makes it so good? Pollen, enzymes, antioxidants, vitamins, and phytonutrients. Honey contains all of these things, which are extremely beneficial for your health. But what happens when you process honey too much? What happens when you put honey through a common process called ultrafiltration, where they heat the honey up and then they water it down with water, which removes all of the pollen, the enzymes, the antioxidants, the vitamins, the minerals, and the phytonutrients. What you're left with is nothing but sugar. And that kind of honey is the honey that is dangerous, not just for people who have diabetes, for normal people who eat honey thinking that it has the same medicinal properties that honey in the olden days had. The difference is the honey is the same. The difference is the processing. So we need to understand that the pollen in the honey does all the magic of building your immunity. Honey contains something called propolis, which is used across Mexico, Cuba, New Zealand, parts of South America to treat cancer patients who have tumors. It has an anti-cancer and an anti-tumor property, which is very, very powerful. So which is why when you travel to places or even you Google and you try to buy bee propolis, you will see it is extremely, extremely expensive because it's a very difficult process to extract propolis from the beehive. It's also known as bee glue, but it has tremendous, tremendous health benefits. Now, you don't have to go through that process for spending a lot of money and buying bee propolis if you have pure, unheated, unpasteurized raw honey, because that honey will always contain everything that honey is supposed to have: pollen, enzymes, antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, propolis, and phytonutrients. What else does honey have? Guess what? Honey has friendly gut bacteria in it already. So it's working like a mild probiotic. It has 6 different strains of probiotics in it, which provides a healthy environment in our gut and the right bacteria in our gut as well. Like I said, it's used to manage blood sugar levels. Now how? You would think, oh, honey's sweet and it's going to break down into sugar and raise my blood sugar levels. But for the longest time, we've been trying to encourage people that when you have diabetes, don't just look at your sugar levels. Diabetes is so much more than just your sugar levels. It's about the health of your pancreas. Why can't your pancreas produce the right amount of insulin? Why can't your cells utilize insulin that your pancreas utilize? What about your liver? What about your kidney? It is all affiliated to your diabetes, which is why people who are on diabetic medication or who have poor control of their diabetes later have liver problems and kidney problems as well. You see, every organ in the human body is connected and it's multifactorial in nature. So honey, when taken by a diabetic, works in the liver as a fueling enzyme. which means it enables the liver with the right amount of energy to manage and break down glucose effectively. And which is why when you speak to doctors in the olden days, they used it to treat people, even adults who develop juvenile diabetes. It can help you with your blood sugar control. But now today, most doctors, including nutritionists, including myself, will tell a diabetic patient not to have honey, because most of the honey is spurious. Most of the honey is just sugar, and that will be detrimental to a diabetic. But if you get the right quality honey where it is written raw, unpasteurized, unheated honey, you'll see this honey is darker in color. You'll see that this honey has sediments. You'll see that this honey is thick and viscous, not like the creamy, golden, pure honey that you see, which is labeled as organic, which turns out to be nothing but sugar and will actually, maybe, most possibly cause your blood sugar levels to be high. Also, honey reduces oxidative stress in the pancreas, in the kidney, and in the liver. And that's the problem that most diabetics suffer from. Oxidative stress, which creates metabolic syndromes in the body and makes the diabetes condition worse and worse. And then, weight loss. When it comes to weight loss, what if you could replace your white sugar with pure, raw, unheated honey? Raw, unheated honey has a very low glycemic index level. Now, we got to be careful, even if you're not diabetic, of foods that have a high GI, because that's what makes the body store fat. That's what makes our blood sugar levels rise rapidly. For coughs and colds, get this pure honey, and the next time you have a cough or a cold or low immunity, or your child, take a tablespoon of pure honey and give it to them. It'll soothe their throat and their cough. You can add a little bit of grated ginger. You can go a step forward and mash a pot of garlic, mix it with that honey, and give it to that child. It will soothe a cough, it will build immunity, and it will also soothe and possibly help break a fever. Immunity. The most powerful thing when it comes to immunity is free radicals. We're constantly producing free radicals in the body because of the pollution in the air, contamination of food, junk, refined food, excessive consumption of alcohol, cigarette smoking, a sedentary lifestyle, lack of sleep. Inflammation produces free radicals, and we need the right amount of antioxidants to neutralize free radicals. Pure, raw, unheated honey is loaded with antioxidants. So which is why we use honey in the treatment of almost all of our patients to boost immunity, which is the first and last line of defense in the human body. Cholesterol as well, because we know that carbs and we know that white sugar and processed sugar will make a cholesterol patient's triglycerides rise rapidly. And triglycerides is what you got to be careful of when you have a cholesterol problem. Low HDL, which is the good cholesterol, is something that we got to be careful of, not LDL. If your triglycerides are in place and your HDL is high, you don't have to worry if your LDL is slightly on the higher side. So honey can be used by people who have cholesterol to actually reduce their triglyceride levels. And when you have open wounds, or you've come back from a surgery, or you're covering up a porthole, or your child falls, or you get a wound, try plain honey mixed with a little bit of turmeric. It has an antibacterial, an antiseptic, and an antifungal properties, which is fantastic for treating open wounds. Now, coming back to the honey today, most of the honey today is mixed with something called invert sugar, which is nothing but a very, very highly refined and processed kind of sugar. Then it's mixed with high corn fructose syrup as well. And the bees are also fed sugar to enable the honey to taste sweeter. So you see, we have contamination at that level, which is why it is so important to make sure that you buy a brand which is written raw, unheated, and unpasteurized honey. And hopefully they will be truthful about that label, and that's the right honey for you, which will have medicinal properties. Other than that, it is just sugar. Now, there are 3 ways to test the purity of honey. So number 1, we start off with the thumb test. So you take a drop of honey and you put it on the base of your thumb. Now, if it starts spreading all over and moving around, you know that it is not pure honey. But if that drop of honey stays as a drop, as a full whole drop on your thumb, you know it is pure honey. Then you have the water test. You fill a glass of water and you put some honey in the glass. Pure honey will form a lump and sink right to the bottom. Impure honey will slowly start dissolving and slowly start moving down the glass. You know it's impure. And then the most simple test is the shelf test. honey, when kept on the shelf for a while or in your cupboard, will crystallize if it's pure. If it remains all golden and light in color and creamy without any crystallization, you know for sure that that honey is not pure. So now, yes, I definitely recommend pure honey for health benefits. It's been used for decades and decades across civilizations, and we can't go wrong with that history and the wisdom behind it. But we're definitely going wrong if we're consuming fake impure honey that is nothing but sugar. In fact, it's going to add to our weight problems, add to our sugar problems, add to more cravings, and that's all bad for our health. So until next time, eat smart, move more, sleep right, and breathe deep. You can Amazon, you can Google, you can check out for brands that are raw, unheated. You know, if you've ever stayed in a village, sometimes you have people who come to your door and they knock on your door and they have this whole drum of honey, and it has the honeycomb in, and you'll see a few dead ants in, you'll see bits of dirt in it and all of that stuff. That is the purest of the purest honey ever. And that's the honey that will have all the health benefits for you. We got to remember that we don't usually recommend or give children who are just born, infants, at least up to a whole year of age, honey, because of the strong antibiotics that it may have that can cause harm to a child. Have a great day, everyone.